Hello there and welcome back to another building tutorial. Today I'm going to be showing you how to make some lovely hanging chains in your Minecraft world using the lovely axiom mod. Okay, to start we're going to need to make some things that our chains are going to hang from. Which, to do this, I would recommend going to one of my previous videos, which you can find either by going to the videos tab and scrolling down until you see it, or going to playlists and looking in my how to build playlist, where you will find how to build a mountain by Axiom. This is not just mountain, but you can use it to make any form of terrain. So if you haven't, I would recommend seeing this. Obviously if you've already got terrain you don't need this, but still cool to see. The next step is making your chain links. Again, using the object tool, which is, no, not object, shape tool, which is right here. So, you want to go to torus, which is the donut tool for normal people like us. So, you will bring, I would recommend setting it to something unique first, like, let's say, diamond blocks. You then spawn it in, and now you have this. So, assuming you're wanting to build this in survival, I always recommend clicking the hollow tab. So this will automatically be hollow. And you want separate X and Z. Like so. So you want, depending on the size of your chain, you can make it squashed. Reduce the thickness of the chain by the diameter. Change the length, like so. I want my chain to be relatively small, but it needs to see like this would not work because it has to be able to fit itself in it. Now this will work. Actually, no, it won't because there's a 4. Has to be an odd number, basically. The diameter has to be odd if this is odd. So, this seems fine to me. So, I'm going to spawn it into the world. And then I'm going to make another one. And because that is quite difficult, I would recommend going reset the rotation if you've already rotated it, and go to roll and set that to 90. You can control click to type in a number, and there we are, we now have a thing rotated 90 degrees. Now you want to make sure it's lined up in the center. Depending on whether you want it touching or not, you can leave a small gap or not. I am not going to leave a small gap. This gives us our lovely chain piece, like so. Okay, so once you've done this, I would recommend texturing it. There's lots of ways you can do this. However, I recommend going to your color grid, which once again, I'm going to quickly remind you all how to do. You select an area, using the box select tool, make it one block thick and off the ground. Select it, then you go to operation and generate color field. Which will give you something like this. For mine, I'm going to select some nice dark shades. So we want some grey concrete, cobble deep slate, and cyan terracotta, which to check they actually work, I'm going to place them on the ground, fly up, and yeah, looks pretty nice. Okay, so you can texture it using the gradient tool, which will have slightly worse results, or you can texture it by hand. Considering this is not actually that much to do, I'm going to texture it by hand, but I'm going to show you how to do it the other way as well. I'm just copy it, and going to paste it. A little bit further away. Okay, so I'm going to show you how to texture it by hand. So the areas which would be in shadow, you want to do with your darkest block. I'd recommend holding Alt and turning on No Clip, because this is going to make this a lot easier, along with Block Replace. Down here would obviously be in shadow. So what you want is to basically just go through and texture all of it. Like this. I've put this into a time lapse because it takes quite a while, but what you're basically doing is, once you've figured out what areas are in shadow, you want to slowly grade them out from your darkest shade to your lightest shade, so that it looks a bit more smooth and like that. So at the moment I'm just working out what the darkest shades are, and now I'm going around with my next darkest shade and the lightest shade. Basically you want to try and avoid the lightest shade and the darkest shade touching, and make it so that there's a mid block in the middle. They can touch sometimes, but generally the rule is don't have them touch. So yeah, you just want to try and get a good amount of light and dark. You don't want it to be too dark or too light, you want it to be about the middle. Yeah, so once you've done one, it's pretty easy to just replicate that on another. But I think it looks very nice. Also, I would really appreciate if you guys were to like and subscribe. I'm in a sub race and I could really do with the subscribers. I am winning, but I want to keep it that way. So yeah, hope you guys just continue enjoying the time lapse of me texturing. There we are, now we've covered the entirety of the chain, and that's how you do it by hand. I think it looks quite nice. Now, if you were to do it using Axiom, you would want to head over to the gradient painter, set a block mask, which you do by making sure you have the mask window open, which you go to Window, Windows, and Tool Mask. Once you've got that open, you want to grab a block mask, and you would search for the block you have made yours out of, which would be diamond blocks. Then we go back to our colour palette and start with the darkest block, which for us is grey concrete. Then ours goes cobbled deep slate, and finally cyan terracotta. So the fast way of doing this is to essentially it gives an okay looking result, but I personally much prefer the look of the one done by hand. Oh wait, I forgot to tell you, whilst doing this, there's a couple of settings which you might want to change. Firstly, you want to change it from basically you want to make sure it's on nearest, so that you don't have the percentages. If you don't have percentages, you know you've done it right. And either of these, they're both just preference depending on how you want it to look, which will give you something like this. This much faster this more detailed. So, okay, so now once we have got this, what you want to do is, because if we were to use this right now, it would look pretty good, but it would not be perfect, because this would be touching like over here at the end here, not in here. So what we want, okay, so what you want to do is go and select all of it, like so. But you want to make sure you have the minimum amount selected, because there's no point in selecting more than that. Okay, and Control C. There we are, we now have it in our clipboard. And then we're going to paste it into the world. We want to get this lined up with where we want it. And because we have a one gap here and here, we want that to match, like so. We now have like a 4-bit of chain. Now, what you want is, you want to find your midpoint of this. This appears to be the midpoint, so you want to get rid of anything past the midpoint. It does not matter if you're a bit over. You're just going to get rid of all of this. And press the delete key. Obviously fill in these gaps that we have now created, like so, and then we're going to want to remove the exact same point on this one. All of, how many blocks did we see here? 2 past this. So, we got rid of all of this. So we want to do it again. You can do it by hand or do it through commands. If it's only a little bit, I just do it by hand. I think it's slightly faster. Fill it in. And now we have a chain link that's like cut in half, so that when this is copied by the tool and then pasted here, then it will look correct instead of looking really wacky. They'll line up basically. So we need to select all of this. Now it's very important that you do not miss, like, you don't want to select more than what's there, because otherwise you might get gaps in your chain. You want it to just fit it like a glove, like this. This is the minimum footprint that this can take up. So I'm going to select it, and I'm going to copy it. So, then, you can go over to where you want your chain to be. Like, I have done this quick train here, which I've shown how to do previously in another video. So we're going to go to the path tool, and there are a bunch of different options here. They all do varying results. However, I'm going to start by showing you the one which I would recommend most people use. So first thing you want to do is change it from sphere to custom. So once you've done that, you also want to reduce the slack, because having extreme values when you're doing like from a clipboard looks wacky. I recommend around 4% slack, no more than like 5 for a chain this size. Obviously the smaller the chain, the worse it's going to look, because it'll lose detail. So then we can select our 2 points we want our chain to be at. So let's say here and here. Okay, now we don't want it to remove our terrain, so we're going to say keep existing. And we're going to push that down to a point where it looks like it makes sense, so we don't just have like half a chain link out in the open, like so. And then we're going to press enter, giving us our lovely chain. Is it perfect? No. It is going to might have a few holes in it like that, or so, but it's a very nice looking chain. It's not the most perfect thing in the world, but because it's trying to make your clipboard into a really odd angle. This would be really difficult to build even without this. Like if you were trying to build it by hand, it would be a nightmare.
to get a chain looking good. If you want to, you can like touch it up a little to get it, making it look a little bit nicer, like that. So it's like remove those excess bending blocks that look like out of place. But yeah, that is how you make a chain. But there is other ways you can do it. This one's the easiest and I think gives probably the best results for most people. The only other one I would like properly recommend is this one. So this one is one if you want to have much more control over the chain itself. Like I can make this chain start to go up and bend round itself if I wanted to. Like if you want a chain attached to something more organic, like this, or if it's in motion, this one's a pretty good one. Obviously, if you're doing something extreme like this, it's going to look weird. The less sharp bends you can do, the better. It's normally the case. But yeah, you can do stuff like this, where you can have really organic chains. If you would do the similar thing with this one, you'd just get like linked chains that all have their own slack, whereas this one, you have much more control over where the chain goes. So like if you wanted to do like a dragon chain to something, this one would be great. You could make it so it's like in motion, the dragon's trying to pull away. I might even do that myself at some point. But yeah, that does not really fit this build, so we don't need that. Now this is one that I would not really recommend, but you can use it if you wanna. This one is for straight lines. Doesn't curve it at all. I mean, if you just want a straight chain, this one will look good. But yeah, this one much more natural than this. And if you have more points, it just continues the chain. They also break quite a bit of corners when you try and extend them like this. But overall, looks pretty good. Now there's more stuff you can use this path tool for than just chains, obviously. It's also really good for stuff like hanging vines. So you don't need clipboard for that, you can just set it to a sphere, slightly increase the radius maybe, and set it to something with your favourite vines. So let's say, not acacia, azalea. Let's do some azalea leaves. So you can just go like, click one, click another. That's probably a bit thick. Yeah, probably a radius of 1 looks pretty nice. But yeah, you can do vines like this, and then you can have more, have them stretching across your build, like so. And they also look pretty good. Obviously these look a little bit too perfect, so if you want to roughen something, you could set a block mask of azalea leaves and just give it a slight roughen, like so. Obviously you can increase the strength or just do it again, and then you get some slightly more realistic looking vines. So that's how you do realistic chains and realistic vines. Chains can also be used in builds to make it look for like lore or characteristic purposes. Like if you want to make it look like your build is strapped down to the terrain, it is a really nice look. This is a build I'm working on. I think it's looking pretty nice, but yes, chains look good. And you can, well, I think it works quite well with symmetrical builds. But yeah, it's a very nice way of attaching your build to the terrain, because sometimes builds can seem quite disconnected from the actual terrain. Anyway, I just want to say thank you for watching all the way to the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed it, I hope I was able to help you out. We're building some nice chains and vines. And yeah, I'll see you in the next one. Bye!